Kakadosh Boker Tov, we're continuing with halachot of Siman Kuf Samechet, Sif Tet. Maran says that on Pat Gamur, on regular bread, you're always going to make a bracha of hamotzi, no matter how much the amount that you're going to eat. So even if you're going to eat a crumb, but you're going to eat hamotzi, you make a bracha of hamotzi. Obviously, you would only make a birkat hamazon once you eat a kazait, but the first blessing, which is going to be the hamotzi, you would always make, no matter how much the amount. Sif Yod is a very, very important halacha. Why is it very, very important? Because until now we've always been speaking about whether it's going to be pataba bekisnim, which is basically mezonot bread, or other types of food. Now we're going to be speaking about what happens if you've taken bread and now you want to downgrade it. Downgrade it means that beforehand it was hamotzi, and now you want to make it into a mezonot. What exactly constitutes the change that now, beforehand, 2 minutes ago, it was a regular piece of bread, and now you're going to come and you're going to make a mezonot. So obviously, B'li we're going to speak about whether it's going to be croutons, whether it's going to be different types of also the breadcrumbs, whether it's going to be also we're going to speak about, let's say you put the bread in the soup, or you're going to come and you're going to use it as for the schnitzel on the outside for breaded types of things. And we'll speak about French toast as well. Today we're only going to speak about French toast, but we'll give the main halacha. The main halacha is brought down that what happens if you're going to cook. Now when I say cook, it's not only cooking, it's frying as well. So let's say you're going to come and you're going to cook or fry bread. So says the Shulchan Aruch, if right now you come and you've cut the pieces of bread, and then afterwards you cook it in water or in a soup, if it's got a kezait, even though it does not have tzurat pat, so therefore you're going to make hamotzi and birkat hamazon. However, though, if it does not have a kazait, even though it does have tzurat pat, it does have the form of bread, you make mezonot and alamichya. Now, when we come and we're talking about here, the kezait, which is coming out that, for example, some people come and they take the bread and they've got leftover bread, or some people they do this on the 8th day of Pesach, that they've got tons of leftover of matzah. They'll come and they'll make a matzah soup. What do you mean? They come and they take the soup, the matzah, they'll put it in the soup. Now what happens is, usually if you're eating in the middle of the meal, anyway there's no nafkamina, but you're making hamotzi in the meal, and then you're eating it. But let's say right now you're not in the middle of the meal. What beracha do you make on the soup? Or what beracha would you make on this bread that you just put inside of the soup? So according to that, if you're putting it in a kli rishon, right, which is going to be on the fire, even if you removed it from the fire, but it's still boiling hot. So what happens is that if it's got a kazait in each, right, in the pieces, you're making hamotzi, and because of if it does not have a kazait, it's going to become mezonot and alamichya. Now, when we're talking about the kazait is talking about the piece of bread before you cooked it, not because after you put it in the water and now it inflates, because it gets water inside of it, it absorbs the water, it becomes a kazait. We're talking about a kazait at the time of cooking. And therefore he comes and he says, so it's very important to realize that. Now what happens though, if some pieces have a kazait and some pieces don't have a kazait? So you make hamotzi on the piece that have a kazait, and then you're poter everything else. But if you're only eating the smaller pieces, you will only make a mezonot. So now when we just finish off with the halacha of the French toast, it comes out as follows. Imagine right now you just had your seudah of bread on Friday night, right, or on Shabbat morning. Obviously, you had to remove the bread before the meat, right, was around, or you made sure that it didn't come in contact with meat, because if not, obviously, you can't use it with French toast because of basar v'chalav, right, because of meat and milk. So what happens is, you come Motzei Shabbat, you got tons of bread, you say, you know what, for Seudah Revi'it, or for example, in the morning, right, Sunday morning breakfast, I'm going to make French toast. How do you make French toast? You slice up the bread, you soak it, whether it's going to be in milk and eggs, and you could add whatever types of condiments that you want, and now you're going to come and you're going to have it for breakfast. What bracha is it? Now, no matter how thin you're going to slice those slices, it has surat pat. It looks like bread, right? So if it looks like bread, so what's the bracha? So according to what we just mentioned, it comes out that whether it was going to be the cooking or the frying, what happens is that if it's going to be that you cut these pieces, that each piece has more than a kazait in every single individual piece, or you're going to eat at least one of them that has a kazait, it's hamotzi and it's birkat hamazon, because it was still bread beforehand. I'm trying to downgrade it. For me to downgrade it, I need that it has to be less than a kazait. However, though, what happens if I come and I thinly slice it, or it depends on the size of the bread, I cut it into 4, whatever the case is, but each piece has less than a kazait, now it changes the beracha from hamotzi to mezonot. and then instead of obviously Birkat Hamazon, it's going to be Al Michya. So therefore, this is very, very important halakha, because this is going to take into effect whether it's going to be speaking about, whether it's going to be about the pita chips and all these other types of foods. This is going to be very, very important. This is the start of the halachot in order to understand these halachot, and therefore just to pay attention to how to make the French toast in order to make sure whether it's going to be mezonot or hamotzi.